Hi everybody, Kat here. Welcome to the channel and Merry Christmas to you all. It is early Christmas morning. Thought I'd hop on here and have a little chat. Well, it's been quite the year for the royal family. I mean, 3 cancer diagnoses if you count Fergie, and for herself, she had 2. She had the breast cancer and skin cancer, remember? So it's been quite something. We do know that into the new year, the King and Queen are planning some big international royal tours again, even as he will continue treatment into 2025. We don't know what the treatment is or how long it's going to last, but they've told us that. Catherine, she's had her troubles this year too, and we're not even really sure exactly what happened. We're not exactly sure what's going on now, which is why it gives rise to a lot of talk. Even now, we saw them, the whole royal family, today outside of the church at Sandringham, walking after the service and greeting the public. And of course, Andrew and Sarah were not present. We've known this for a few days, that they were going to stay away. And it was most likely Fergie's good sense to convince him that, not to be a part of things. They're not even up at Sandringham. They stayed away from the family completely, wallowing in their shame at Royal Lodge. And I mean, this year has been not a good one for the Yorks. I mean, of course, Fergie's cancer struggles. And, Andrew, scandal is the word that follows whenever you mention his name, and it's just been one scandal after another with the guy this year. His whole friendship with the guy on the island, well, speculation about that will never end. It'll never end. So he's always got that hanging over his shoulder, and yet one scandal after another. I mean, it's been a public fight with the king over Royal Lodge. We know the king wants him out. Frogmore has been a suggestion. We know Andrew doesn't want to do it. Talk about the disrepair of the place. All these things kind of adding up to why Andrew should leave, while the king pushes at him a little bit and removes his security. Now, Royal Lodge is a 30-room giant mansion on 90 acres, 90 private acres on the Windsor estate. But he had his own private security to the tune of, I don't know, millions a year anyway. And since he lost all his titles, and Charles has been paying it. He's been paying for his security, even though, and even through all of this scandal with the guy on the island, and so Charles withdrew his security and says, where are you going to find the money for the security? Well, Andrew pops up just, a couple of weeks later, after everybody's speculating that he's going to be thrown out of Royal Lodge. He pops up, he's got the money somehow. And I mean, that just started everybody talking, because everybody knows from the time that Andrew became a trade envoy for the British government, and then went on to his whole Pitch the Palace scheme, we know that behind it there was all kinds of private and side deals where Andrew pocketed a lot of loot. He made a lot of money out of his contacts and stuff like that, and in not legitimate ways, and we know the kind of people that he can, gun runners, crooked bankers, PDF files, I mean, all sorts of unsavory people. He seems to just rack them up. But, so if that wasn't bad enough, so then, he figured he checkmated the king, like, ha, I came up with the money for the security. Nuts to you, big bro. Well, then Charles counters and he says, well, it needs a lot of repair, and next thing you know, Daily Mail, there's pictures of crumbling outside walls and plaster and stucco, and everybody's talking about, oh, he needs to come up with the money to for all the upkeep and repairs. Lo and behold, last minute, 12th hour, he comes up with the money for the repairs, and everybody's talking again, like, where the heck is Andrew getting his... And this is why there is something fishy about this underneath all of this, because it was after that then the story about the Chinese spy broke. Well, now, we know now that his relationship with this guy goes back a decade. It's not like this just happened and the government just found out about this. They've known about this guy. I mean, they deported him a couple of years ago, and he's fighting that. It's in appeals right now. The guy wants his status back. He said, I'm not a spy. But that's just what a spy would say, wouldn't they? So, why is this coming out? Why didn't this come out 2 years ago? Why is this just coming out now? They're really piling on Andrew, and Andrew, boastful and brash and bossy, he's also, pretty easy to manipulate, because none of those royals really are intellectually savvy. Harry's being used. We know. Anything that comes out of his mouth is nothing that he could script himself. He's the Travelist and all of his initiatives, chimp officer. Like, come. Harry is not a smart guy. But getting back to Andrew, I mean, him and Sarah are well and truly done. I think they're just going to disappear into oblivion. There's no way back for him. Not now. Not ever. The public's had enough. The royal family's had enough. They do not want to be associated with him. They do not want to be seen with him in public. Yeah. Andrew, well and truly done. Which leaves the problem of, Harry and Meghan. And it's a big problem. The whole lot of them, Andrew and Harry and Meghan, need titles and responsibility. The counselors of state status, and everything needs to be stripped from these guys. They've got to be well and truly pushed aside in a very public way. And I mean, I hate to say it, but I think the king and certainly William would be savvy enough to understand that they could use this new Labour government to their advantage to get this done without them really looking like the bad guys, right? So I think definitely this year, I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see some definitive action on Andrew and Harry and Meghan. And I think it's going to be William that's going to be pushing the buttons. I really do. As I said all along, I think William is in the middle of a power play. And I think in 2025 we're going to see the king step down. They may use the cancer as an excuse, but as I've said all along, that William is pushing his influence. And I think we're going to see this in 2025. And as far as Catherine goes, well, we saw her at church today. She looked good. She looked just fine. Though there wasn't any close-ups of her, you know. You could barely tell where the skin ended and the mask began. I know. But you wouldn't believe the conspiracy theories we've had about Catherine over the year, and some of them are still continuing. Honestly, is she a clone? Is she in a coma? Is she undergoing some kind of secret rituals to prepare her to be queen? Is it a mask? Did she have some kind of surgery? We don't know. Everybody's talking. Those controversies are still swirling online. And the reason that happens is because people don't believe the narrative that they push out to you. And we know with this one, it's been just one bloody thing after another, you know. And I mean, at this rate, we're going to run out of conspiracy theories in 2030 because they just keep coming true. But, you know, how crazy is it? We don't know what happened. We don't know. There's on X, there's Q people that still believe the plan is in place, and you know, Ellen DeGeneres has been executed in Gitmo, and whoever's in England is somebody else, and all the things. But you know, is it a mask? Are we really seeing what we're seeing? Well, we've been shown many times, never believe what you see, because wow, look at it twice. That's right. And I'll tell you about the masks, and it's weird because right now, across the board, on the internet and social media, people are talking about it, and people are saying, wow. And there is proof that this kind of stuff has been done. There's a really interesting book, The Moscow Rules, by Joanna Mendez. She was a CIA agent for many years. She was actually head of disguises for the CIA. A position that her husband shared with her. He was head of disguises at a different time. So, I mean, and she wrote this book and this Moscow Rules, and it was about how they used people, spies, in Moscow, and how they got around on the streets and stuff like that, and the way they plan operations, and really interesting stuff. And of course, you hear what she's allowed to tell you, and all of this stuff happened, 30-40 years ago, but it's amazing, and some amazing pictures. And one picture she had, there was a security briefing at the White House about something or other. So she goes with a couple other people, government people at the time, and that she's met there, and she's got dark hair and sunglasses, and they come into the meeting, and they're sitting there and talking, and there's these, I've got the photographs, they're all in the book. She's sitting there chatting, and then all of a sudden she just kind of goes like this and pulls the mask off, and they're all just flabbergasted. And I heard her talk about this in an interview, and she said that photograph was actually, they airbrushed the mask out of it for something like 20 years because it was considered a state secret, a security breach if anybody knew. But I mean, there you go. There was what they were doing with masks back then. What could they be doing now? Do we really believe what we see? I don't know. What do you think about all this? Just a little Merry Christmas riddle for you. Have a great day. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment. I want to know what you have to say. And we will see you next time. Bye for now.